Two former college football players now facing decades in prison, found guilty of sexually assaulting a female student in a dorm room at Vanderbilt University.
Yeah, and according to crime reports, college students are at an increased risk of being sexually attacked during the first few months of their first and second semesters in college.
So what is going on?
Do you think that they're safe on campus, or?
I think Shippensburg has a lot of work to do. I don't think anywhere is actually safe. Here at the Page Center, we like to use the word safer because we cannot guarantee a space is going to be safe ever. And as much as we would love to have Shippensburg be a safe campus, we just try to make it a safer place to be. I think living in a red area and being such a open college, at times more concerned about the town folk with our LGBTQI students. So I think SHIP has just a lot of work to do.
Because what we find is that through the general school system, they're not really getting any type of education or support on how to just build general relationships, how to build friendships, how to have those healthy communication and styles. And so when they get to college, the only tip they have is just don't get assaulted and don't be the person to assault someone, right? But there's nothing in between. And so prevention education really does go a long way. I like to always reference, if you know better, you do better, right? So if you just know what it is to have those healthy communications, or know that there's ways to grow that skill, it helps in the long run. Because if you don't know any better, you're gonna just do what you're falling back on, which is examples in social media or examples of bad relationships that might be out there. Or just, it's very hard for people to really think about what is a good example of a good relationship.
Part of why I'm sort of struggling with the word safe is that a lot of the work that we're doing is after people have already been harmed, right? And the work that needs to be done so that fewer people are harmed is work that's considered sort of prevention work, and that's around culture change.
And over the years, I think language has been changing, because about 10 years ago, we used to say walk in groups, but it was always specifically targeting women. Walk in groups, carry mace, carry tasers. But the real thing is they have to be in charge of their safety. Instead of telling people not to attack others or not to rape others, we're telling others, oh, just be prepared because it's probably going to happen.
And how would you say students can stay safe this weekend, whether they're on campus or, going off campus?
Sure. Well, I think the number one thing is to be aware of their surroundings, have their cell phones charged. That way they're, functioning like they should be. Keep their keys handy, their IDs handy. Make sure they're locking their doors to both their rooms, their apartments, their cars, and trust their gut. If they come up on something that doesn't feel comfortable, avoid that. But if the place doesn't look safe to go in, trust that gut feeling you get. Be aware of what you're putting in your body. Don't sit your cups down and walk away. Come back, pick the same cup up, and just make wise decisions and think about things before you do them, and trust that, like I said, trust that gut instinct.
So here at the Page Center, we give out a lot of free supplies. We give out free condoms, free menstrual items. We give out pregnancy tests to our students. We actually also have a hidden stock of Plan B, so if you know any students who have a financial crisis and can't afford in town or the machine over in Eder, they can come by the Page Center, specifically for those who are in financial crisis or really need Plan B in an emergency.
The YW has had a relationship with Shippensburg University for quite a while. There are a number of us who are at SHIP in faculty or staff positions who have been part of the YW, specifically the Rape Crisis Services program of the YWCA in Carlisle.
There has been a new law that passed recently, so all of the schools that receive federal funding has to have a formal relationship with their rape crisis center, local rape crisis or domestic violence center. But we have formal relationships with Shippensburg University, Dickinson College, Central Penn, and Messiah. And so we're actively on either more heavily on Dickinson and Shippensburg, but on their radar, of course, with Central Penn and Messiah to know that there's resources available for their students.
One of the things that we wanted to get back onto campus was drop-in hours for counseling and advocacy, a survivor support group, and a hotline. And we've been able to get those in place, and it's been through, largely through the YW in Carlisle, but also in partnership with, again, domestic violence services and WIN services in Chambersburg, so that we've got a coalition between these different counties and the different forms of violence, so that we've got folks that are working together to provide as much support and advocacy as possible.
And we should be steering more in a direction of teaching consent and healthy relationships here on campus in University 101 classes, and just different classes around that in general. And instead, bringing the conversation to what is consent, what is a healthy relationship. And when we have those conversations, it actually is part of prevention towards sexual assault.
It's really hard to kind of put into words or having to just share with someone. So we try to lessen that barrier of, as you mentioned, limiting the barrier of transportation. So we have a campus advocate who is stationed in the Cub, but then we also have a hotline dedicated just for Shippensburg University students, where they have access to a trained sexual assault counselor 24/7. At any point of the day, there is an advocate available to speak with them, to help talk through hypotheticals or talk through what their options or resources are, because sometimes it's scary to think about what the next steps would be, and you want to know the information before you trigger the next step, pretty much, right? And so this gives you a really good space to talk through with professionals in a very confidential way.
If somebody needs to go to the hospital, there are folks who can go with to the hospital, who can help to advocate as needed, either with the police who often show up, or with doctors and nurses and other physicians who can provide information about what's available. A lot of folks don't know that they could, for example, have a forensic exam and have it remain anonymous. And an advocate can be at the hospital to help folks know what their rights are and what is available to them.
Just call or walk into those office hours. And again, we operate very well with the hypothetical, right? So if you don't want to associate yourself with the situation specifically, or if you're just looking for support for someone else, just ask the questions, because you're going to be talking with someone who is confidential, who does not have to report it to anyone, not law enforcement, can't even be subpoenaed in a court of law. You really do get that space to kind of process through the situation and see what the best course of action is. And it takes time, right, to build up the courage to know that is a safe space. So that's why we make ourselves available 24/7, so that at whatever point you do have the ability to ask, someone's always available.